Welcome everyone to White Collar Advice. I am your host Justin Paperny, and I'm going to jump right in with this video called 9 Smart Things That All White Collar Defendants Do. I wrote a blog on this subject. I am going to post the link to the blog, and the idea for this blog or video came because I'm working with a couple of producers on a White Collar Advice show here in Los Angeles, and over lunch at the Beverly Glen Deli, they said, what are some smart things that white collar defendants do? You're the expert in this area. We want to learn. What are some smart things that they do? I said, I love the question. I rattled off some answers. I spent hours working on a blog, and now I'm going to film this video. So let's jump right in with number 9. My wife actually asked me why 9. 9 felt like a good number. That's my baby crying in the other room. It's 5 o'clock here in Los Angeles. I actually just got back from USC where I spent the day working some traffic, but I was so excited to film this video, and I was just adamant that I would film it today. So I'm doing it from my home office. My wife said, why 9? I said, it could be 900. It could be 9,000. These are 9 specific things that I identified. If you think I missed some, leave a comment, send me a message. Number 9, smart white collar defendant, ask the right questions. You know how to ask tough questions, follow-up questions. For example, and I share some specific examples in the blog, one of them is a defendant called and said, dude, I was so excited. He actually, the exact voice message he left me, he gave me permission. We're now working together. I put it in the blog. But he essentially said, I'm so excited. I saw this video you filmed with Judge Boo and Judge Bennett where he talked about the importance of getting the narrative in the probation interview. And then he said, well, I ran the idea by my lawyer. I asked him to do it. He said no. And he's like, all right, I guess it is what it is. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no cliche. It is what it is. Take action. Ask appropriate follow-up questions such as, Mr. Lawyer, answer me this question. If we're using this narrative to influence the judge, does it not seem logical that we would then use this narrative to influence the probation officer who will make a recommendation on how long I should serve in prison? And my new client was like, yeah, that makes total sense. That's the right question. I said, well, of course it is. He asked the question. The lawyer agreed. He got the narrative in the PSR. Good things are going to happen. Number 8 on this list, understanding their tendencies. All smart white-collar defendants understand their tendencies. Do you know your tendencies? Are you a pleaser? Are you tough to reason with? Are you arrogant? Does it always have to be your way? Do you follow the crowd? Are you afraid of confrontation? How many of you watching this did not have criminal intent, yet here you are engulfed in the criminal justice system? I bet most of you didn't have criminal intent. I can tell you when I graduated USC in 1997, I didn't have aspirations that I would someday end up on the wrong side of prison boundaries. I didn't understand my tendencies. I wanted to get in 5 years where it takes 10. I wanted to get in 1 year where it takes 5. I wanted success quicker. That was a tendency of mine. I wasn't aware of it. I didn't understand it. Do you know your tendencies? If you understand your tendencies, you will be in a better position to succeed and emerge from this wretched system more successfully. Take the time to understand your tendencies. I wrote a blog on this subject. I'll also put a link to that blog of understanding your tendencies in the YouTube description. Okay, moving on. Number 7. The number 7 thing that all smart white-collar defendants do is understand the end game. What is the end game for you? I can tell you when I surrendered to federal prison, I met Michael Santos. He said to me, what does success look like for you? And I said, well, I don't understand the question. He's like, well, what is success for you moving forward? And I said, I just surrendered to prison. I'm trying to decompress a bit. I've been fighting my case for 3.5 years. I haven't really figured it out, man. I'm just kind of getting it together. And he said, okay, that's cool. When you're prepared to understand or want to learn or take appropriate action on what life is like as a convicted felon, let me know. When he said that to me, as many of you have really read, and I hope read in my book, Lessons from Prison, it shook me. It helped me realize that, yes, I was in prison, but the hardest part was going to be coming home. And if I didn't use my days productively, preparing to come home a little better and stronger than when I went in, this would be a wasted time in my life. And immediately I found some sick, twisted irony, knowing that the government or the taxpayer was going to be subsidizing my sabbatical and rebirth while in federal prison. I hope you find that same level of clarity and serenity while on the inside. And having those conversations with Michael Santos helped me. So I say to all of you, if you can focus on the end game, whatever that may be, you will be more prepared to work on days you don't want to work. If you can focus on the end game, you will not get into things in prison, frankly, that you shouldn't get into, like softball and iPhones and drugs and commiserating with staff and watching TV. If you are focused on the end game, you'll use your time more productively, as I and hundreds of our clients have done. So all smart white-collar defendants understand the end game. Number 6, recognizing this is harder on their family. This is a tough one to talk about because I know prison is hard. I know many of you going to prison should not go to prison. I recognize the injustices of this system. That said, as hard as it is for you, it's harder on your family. So I beg you, when you are in prison, do not be that prisoner that calls home to complain about how tough it is and how hard it is and how miserable he is, and then gets off the phone and watches the Kardashians or Sons of Anarchy, or plays blackjack. By doing that, you get off the phone, your loved ones are at home worried. Are you okay? Is he okay? Do we need to send him more money? Do we need to go visit him again? What do we do? If you can recognize experience is harder on your family, it will be easier for everyone. Every now and again, I get a call this happened recently, just before Christmas. A woman with whom I've never spoken to called me and said, I'm not going to visit my husband for several months. I just left him in prison. I said, I'm sorry, forgive me. Do I know you? We haven't spoken. She said, no, I've been watching your videos, and I found them after my husband already surrendered to prison, but I just wanted to let you know that maybe you can use this information to help others, but I'm not going to go visit my husband in federal prison for several months. I said, why? She said, it's all about him. It's all about how his life is imploding. She said, I spent several hours getting there. It's not an inconvenience. I love him. He's my husband, but it's really hard work to get there. I take the day off work and I get there and he's angry and he's mad. And visitation is not what I thought that it would be. And frankly, as soon as I get there, I'm itching to get the hell out of there. And he just doesn't get it. It's all about him. It's all about how his life is imploding. What his days are like, he doesn't recognize what it's like for me at home. So I say to all of you, if you want to be a smart white-collar defendant, recognize this experience is harder on your family. Moving along, number 5. Number 5, you have to focus on what you can control. You may not be able to control your bunk, your job, the one-sided Department of Justice, press releases. As I wrote in this blog, I'm aware of the stigma that accompanies a white-collar crime conviction. Many people have said to me, oh my God, you were in prison. You look so normal. I can't control that. Okay, what can I do? But through deliberate and constant practice over time, I've been able to focus on what I can control, namely how I respond to negativity, my work ethic, how I treat my family, how I take care of my clients, how I take care of my body. And keep in mind, focusing on what you can control, or not obsessing over what you cannot control. Any way you look at it doesn't mean that you don't care. So, for example, I'm writing my 3rd book, Lessons After Prison. You like that? I have lessons from prison, lessons after prison. And in the book, I'm documenting these competitors who colluded to write anonymous reports about me. I'm suing them, and I'm documenting all of it in the book, from the subpoenas and the IP addresses. Literally every time they logged on, we have it. And I'm putting all of this in the book. I care. I want to hold them accountable, but I didn't lose a ton of sleep over it, in part because I can't control what competitors might do to try to grow their business. I can't control what anonymous reports they may write to try to hurt me to grow their business. I'd go insane. I've been doing this 11 years. I've worked with more than 1,000 people. There are people gunning for us, people that want to hurt us, people that steal our content. I mean, ask half of these people where they got our content. From us, I can't control that. All I can control is my response to it. So I say the same to all of you. You can care. You can take appropriate action. However, you can't obsess over it if you cannot control it. And that was tough for me because I like to be in control. I like to take action. I like to try to prioritize and make sure things that are done correctly. If you do, you'll literally go insane. So learn from me. Maybe you can't control that Department of Justice press release. Perhaps you can control your response to it and the new record you create moving forward. Number 4, focus on resources you have. I just noticed there's a typo here that I'm going to put it up, and that's okay, which is going to eventually get to number 1. Done is better than perfect. Focus on the resources you have. What are those resources? Is it your mind? Is it your ability to work hard? Is it your ability to overcome struggle? Is it your ability to create? Is it your ability to see that the glass is half full? What resources do you have? I can tell you when I was fighting my case, I tended to focus on everything that I had lost. Losing my reputation, my money, my license to sell real estate, my license to sell stock, my license to raise money to do deals, My dignity in many cases, my body, a fat, bloated, miserable pig for 3 years before I went to jail. I was so obsessed over what I was losing. Well, what I should have done, what you should do if you are a smart white-collar defendant, as I begin to lose my voice because I've been lecturing all day, what you should do as a smart white-collar defendant is focus on what you have. I finally did that in prison. Well, what did I have? I had a loving family. It's a great resource. So grateful for them. A competitive drive. Being an athlete at USC was hard. The athletes were phenomenal, but I had a competitive drive to be great, to do the best that I possibly could. A resource was my ability just to buckle down and work. I was young. That was a resource. Perspective was a resource for me. I recognized in prison that most men had it worse than me. And every now and again, I get a message from someone that says, you're just a rich, young Jewish punk from USC who had all the breaks. And so in saying that, they tend to dismiss or negate all of the work that I had put in. But I kind of understand the stigma. It was just 18 months. I was 33. I did have a loving family. I did have a large network who was willing to support and love me through struggle. Those were resources. If you don't have them, I hope you can cultivate or get them back. But it was certainly a resource for me that I should have focused on. And last but not least, the hardest thing that I think Michael taught me was through self-empowerment or through struggle, finding self-empowerment. And I tend to read a lot of Epictetus, the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, and that's really their principal teaching. Through struggle, not getting beaten down, but improving yourself. It's hard, easier said than done. It's a 10-year process for me, and it's still ongoing. It is a lifelong search. Number 3, embracing reality leads to ethical and authentic branding. I'm a big fan of Ayn Rand. As many of you know, I mention her in my lectures frequently, and it was either her book, Philosophy Who Needs It, or Atlas Shrugged, where she wrote, you can avoid reality, but you cannot avoid the consequences of avoiding reality. Too many defendants pretend this is not happening, and as a result, they embrace the status quo. They do not take action. They're afraid, per number 9, to ask tough questions, right? They're afraid. For number 6, they focus more on themselves and their family. They live like the proverbial ostrich with their head buried in the sand. You can do that. That's fine if that's the choice you want to make, but you cannot avoid the consequences of those decisions. And the consequences are more pain and shame for your family, a longer prison term, not properly holding your lawyer accountable, which will not get you the best prison sentence, and not properly rebranding to build a business. When I went to prison, I began to embrace the reality of my life. I'm a convicted felon on the wrong side of prison boundaries who's lost all of these licenses. What resources do I have? I began to make appropriate action because I embraced this reality. Good God, man, I'm in jail. As a result of that, I began to take action. Now, people have said to me, well, it's in your interest to write about prison. You're a prison consultant. It's in your interest to write about ethics because you're an ethics speaker at USC, the FBI, and others. I get it. It may appear that way now, but when I started, I didn't plan to be an ethics speaker or prison consultant. My goal was to help people because for so long it was all about Justin, how my life was imploding. I was opportunistic. I would only work with you if you could help me. I said, maybe that didn't work out so good. I'm in prison. Maybe the ends justifying the means, a philosophical theory I misconstrued, isn't the right approach for me. Maybe I should begin to give back and help people. Let's see where that goes. Then I wrote a blog and another blog and another blog. Then I got, as many of you know, these letters in prison, people telling me I was helping them. The blogs were a harbinger for my book, Lessons from Prison, and the rest, as they say, is history. The point is I started off by embracing reality, creating content, and wanting to help people. And because of that, there are so many opportunities that come my way, I can't even take all of the opportunities. I choose to be a prison consultant and speaker because I love it. I believe in it. I think I help people. I think it matters. But there's many other things that I can do to make, frankly, much more money. This is my passion. I love it, as cliche as that sounds. Brand authentically. Do not pretend this did not exist. This did not happen. Do not avoid reality. Take action. Create a new record. And if you do that, the goal in time is that people will, how best can I say it, to compare your life before prison with some bad decisions with decisions that you made after prison, to juxtapose them, so to speak, and say, you know what, all things considered, I'd like to think I've lived a pretty productive life. I hope all of you, if you are a smart white-collar defendant, will embrace reality, will brand authentically and create that new record, and in the end, people will say, yeah, he's human, he made some bad decisions, but he's doing a lot of the right things, and he's someone I'd love to get behind. Number 2, appreciate what cannot be taken away. I don't know if there's any research on this. It must exist. But I believe if you win the morning or win a good portion of the day, you'll feel better. You'll be stronger and better. They can never take that success away from you, regardless of the press releases, regardless of the lawyer, the legal fees, regardless of what people say about you behind your back. You have got to appreciate what they can never take away from you. As an example, I run 4 days a week at 5 a.m. It's frankly, most of the ones are miserable. Some I love, even life-changing. I'll put up an image to my run this morning. I did 5.5 miles. But when I was done at 5:50 or so in the morning, I walked into my office and I thought, I did it. I feel great. Regardless of what happens today, the good, the bad that comes with business, this run, the way that I feel right now, the health benefits can never be taken away from me. So I have said before, I was a fat, bloated pig before I went to federal prison. I ate poorly. I didn't really drink much, but I smoked. I chewed tobacco. I was a self-loathing. Read Lessons from Prison to learn more. Be better than me. Be stronger than me. Learn these lessons and implement. I beg you, accomplish something early in the day, or find something. Find that win. It can never be taken away from you, regardless of what the government tries to do to you, regardless of how people tried to hurt you and pile on and bring the pain and hurt you. I just beg you, find that win. For me, oftentimes that's early morning runs that set my day up, and I always feel better regardless of what happens. Find that perfect time in your day. Create a win. Can never be taken away from you. Number one, remain patient and embrace done is better than perfect. When I surrendered to prison, I remember telling people, Michael Santos, my friend Andrew Alchek, God rest his soul, he died in federal prison. I'd say, here's the deal, guys. This is all I want. So all I want is my reputation back. I want to make big money again. I want to make my parents proud of me. I want to get married. I want to have kids. Speaking of kids, my kids have been fairly quiet in the other room. I hope everything's okay. I want kids. I want a wife. I want my reputation. I want a business. I want my probation officer to be cool and let me do my thing. What else do I want? I want to get in great shape again. I was a baseball player at USC, and I want to be fit and strong. I'm big, fat, bloated. I want to be in shape. What do I got to do? I see that track out there. Ooh, it looks good. I wanted it all right now, at this moment. And by looking at it from that perspective, I was never going to get started. It was too overwhelming. How the hell was I going to accomplish all of that? So what I had to do is be patient and embrace the slow and steady wins the race, as I wrote about it, Lessons from Prison, the tortoise and the hare. I focus on the next right thing to do. If you are a smart white-collar defendant, you will be patient and focus on the next right thing to do. Perhaps it's not to the point where I'm running a half marathon in a couple of weeks. My first one was 3 miles. I huffed and puffed around the track. It was so hard. I was exhausted. My eyes were watering. It was miserable, but I did it. It was 3 miles. It's not writing a 50,000-word book, which is Lessons from Prison. It started with a 300-word blog, and it felt good. It wasn't telling my parents I'm going to be great and better and I'll make amends. It was writing them a letter that said, I'm sorry I let you down. I love you. I'm going to become better. And I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to do it. Slow and steady. I was patient. And by gaining traction, I developed confidence. By gaining traction, people came into my network. By gaining traction, I avoided many of the pitfalls that plague so many people in prison. And as I wrap up this video, I'll say to number one, remaining patient, embracing done is better than perfect. Look, when I look back on some of the blogs I wrote in federal prison, I read them and think, what the hell was I thinking? How the hell did I write them? And look at how poorly it was written. That was the best I had at the time. That was the best I could do that day from the quiet room in federal prison. Even now, could this video be better? Probably. Could the blog I spent hours writing be better? Sure. Are there some typos? Probably. Could I spend hours fixing it? Yeah, but why? You get the gist of the message. Every now and again I get a message from someone that says, hey, I found a typo on page 187 of your book. And I'm like, how do the first 187 pages impact you? Thank you for telling me I have a parentheses in the wrong spot. Who cares? So to all of you, number one, if you are a smart white-collar defendant, embrace the mantra, done is better than perfect. Get started. Be a little embarrassed when you start, as I was writing my blogs. If you look at some of my early blogs, I'd love to throw in big words like insouciant and many others. By writing the word, I learned it, but I look back and I'm like, I'm trying to impress people with my vocabulary. It's the best I had at the time. Done is better than perfect. Create the content, share it with those that love and support you, and don't worry so much about being a perfectionist. It's okay. Not that many people are paying attention. Anyway, it's just the people in your network. So that's how I'm going to wrap up this video. I apologize for losing my voice. It was a very long day at USC, and I've been so excited to film this video for you, and that's how I'll wrap up. This video is only good if you take action. This may sound frank and a little curt, but my videos aren't right for you if you only watch and do nothing. Frankly, you shouldn't subscribe to this channel, and you should comment, and it's okay if you leave a don't like on this video because I've said something that maybe you don't like. My work is for those people who take action. My work is for those people who look at this list that I've created and said, okay, Justin identified in his blog resources that he had. I'm now going to identify resources that I have, and I'm going to leverage off them. I'm going to improve them. I'm going to make them better. And that's how you get the most out of my work. You watch, you take action, and that's how I'll wrap up. If you found value in this video, please share it. And frankly, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I have enjoyed filming it for you. Thank you. I hope to return soon, and Happy New Year.